Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into a really interesting way companies tackle big design problems, the design sprint.
Yeah, it's a super focused approach.
And we're looking specifically at how the DXAI group used this process, right, for their DXAI platform. They even brought in a generative AI.
That's right. Think of it as like a pressure cooker method. Go from problem to a testable solution fast.
So, what was the DXAI group trying to achieve with this platform anyway? What's the big goal?
Well, their main thing is using AI and digital transformation DX to make industrial processes, equipment work better,
Better how?
improve quality, basically,
Yeah.
fewer defects, higher yields, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
and also push for more data-driven decisions across the board.
Okay, so this deep dive is really a peek behind the curtain, how they ran their sprint, used GenAI, and what they actually decided.
Exactly. We're looking at how these complex projects actually start taking shape.
And for you listening, we know you're here to learn. We're going to pull out the key stuff, the insights, without getting bogged down in like super technical jargon.
We'll keep it focused.
All right. So the sprint kicked off with session one, setting state, or they called it map. What's the point of that first session?
Um, it's really about getting everyone aligned, setting the foundation. They started by talking about their long-term vision for the platform.
The big dream.
Kind of, yeah. They put it as AIX, AOEEP.
Okay, break that down for us.
It basically means using AI and DX to optimize processes and equipment, aiming for stable, high quality, fewer defects, better output, making decisions based on actual data.
So starting with that clear goal was important.
Absolutely critical. It's like setting the North Star for everything that follows in the sprint. Keeps everyone pulling in the same direction.
Makes sense. Then they jumped into sprint questions. What was that about? Looking for problems.
Pretty much. Trying to anticipate the hurdles, the things that could go wrong, they ask questions to pinpoint potential roadblocks early on.
Any key questions stand out?
Yeah, one big one was, AI's the Greekon, go Arshoni.
Which nuts?
What's the biggest obstacle to actually implementing AI for quality control? That was a central theme.
Okay. What else?
They also flagged the need for stable, reliable data that's always huge, and being able to keep up with how fast the tech changes.
So thinking ahead about the challenges. Smart.
Definitely. Asking these tough questions up front saves a lot of headaches later. You build solutions that are grounded in reality.
Okay, vision set, potential problems flagged. How did they shift towards like actual solutions? Was that the how might we question?
Exactly, the HMW questions. It's a technique to flip problems into opportunities. Instead of it's hard to get data, you ask, how might we make data acquisition easier?
Ah, okay. So what things popped up there?
Well, they generated a bunch. Key ones were around how might we set up ways to get the data we need?
Data acquisition, right?
And show the hook.
Yeah.
How might we create a system to analyze and actually show the data effectively? And also, show day, how might we predict and figure out the root causes of quality issues?
So getting more specific now.
Yeah, these HMWs gave them clearer targets for brainstorming solutions.
Moving from broad issues to these focused how might ways. See how that focuses the effort. And then they did a user journey map. Tell us about that.
Right, the user journey map. This is all about empathy, stepping into the shoes of the actual person using this platform.
What does that look like?
They mapped out the whole experience, from the moment a user realizes they have a problem through using the platform all the way to, hopefully, getting that problem solved.
And the goal is to find the rough spots.
Exactly. Identify the pain points. Where might a user get stuck or frustrated?
What kind of pain points did they uncover?
Some really practical ones came up. Things like difficulties with getting data inputted accurately and easily. People struggling to understand what the AI results actually mean.
The black box problem.
Sort of, yeah. And also, just inefficiency in connecting the analysis insights to taking concrete action, the so what factor.
Those sound like real world issues. Okay, so they have the vision, the potential problems, the H&Ws, the user pain points. How do they decide what to focus on first? That's the sprint target.
Yep, the sprint target. They looked at everything they'd gathered, the HMWs, the journey map pain points, and made a call.
And the decision was?
To concentrate their efforts in this sprint on three main things. First, data collection and making sure it's accurate, verifying it. Second, the AI analysis part, specifically focused on predicting quality issues.
Makes sense. And third?
Third was how to visualize the results. The user interface, making the outputs clear and actionable for the user.
Okay, so they carved out a manageable piece for this first sprint.
Exactly. Define the battleground, so to speak.
So within those target areas, data, AI, quality analysis, visualization, what specific features did they say had to be in the first version, the MVP?
Right, the minimum viable product. They listed out the essentials. Things like core data analysis tools, features for predicting specific targets.
Like predicting defects.
Potentially, yeah. Also, data collection mechanisms, ways to search the data and generate reports, a pipeline for processing the data smoothly, and a parser to handle different data formats.
That sounds like a solid core. Anything else?
Interestingly, yeah, they also added a couple of supplementary goals. One was designing an AI agent specifically for their industry domain,
A specialized AI.
and the other was setting up a collaboration structure using GitHub, basically for the team to work together and show progress.
So thinking about the how as well as the what.
Right, covering both the product's features and the development process.
Wow, that's a packed first session. Okay, let's move to session 2. Sketch. This is where the ideas really start flowing.
Exactly. Time to generate possibilities. It kicked off with something called lightning demos.
Lightning demos, what are those?
It's where the team looks outside their own world for inspiration. They check out existing solutions, maybe from totally different industries.
Right, what?
They looked at things like predictive analytics tools in finance, maybe, or digital twin platforms in manufacturing, even simple collaboration software. The idea is just to see how others have tackled similar types of challenges.
Broaden the horizons. Did GenAI play a part here?
Yes, the material suggests GenAI was actively used here during this benchmarking. It helped them scan and analyze a much wider range of existing solutions much faster than they could have manually.
Using AI to accelerate learning from others. Clever. Okay, after the demos came the 4-step sketch. Walk us through that.
Sure. It's a structured way to go from inspiration to concrete ideas. Step 1. Everyone individually jots down notes, captures insights from those demos, including the GenAI findings.
Okay, individual reflection first.
Step 2. Extract the key ideas from the notes. Start connecting dots. Step 3 is the fun one. Crazy eights.
Crazy eights sounds energetic.
It is. Everyone takes a sheet of paper, folds it into 8 sections, and then has just 8 minutes to sketch 8 different rough ideas. 1 idea per box.
Wow, 8 ideas in 8 minutes. Intense.
Yeah, the pressure is the point. It forces you past your first, most obvious idea and encourages quantity and variety. Get lots of possibilities out quickly.
Okay, and the final stuff.
Step 4 is the solution sketch. Individuals pick their strongest idea, maybe combining elements from their crazy eights, and flesh it out into a more detailed, clearer sketch, often showing a MIDI flow, like 3 panels showing how a user interacts with it.
Still visual, but more thought out. Could GenAI help here too?
It's plausible. While not explicitly stated for this step in the sources, you could imagine GenAI helping generate variations on sketches, or maybe suggesting UI layouts based on the initial concepts drawn during Crazy Eights. It could speed things up.
Right, so the output of this whole sketch session was a pile of drawings.
Essentially, yes. A whole collection of diverse, specific solution ideas, all captured visually.
What kind of things did they sketch?
All sorts. Ideas for what the main dashboard could look like, different ways to show the results of an AI root cause analysis, interfaces for letting users explore the data themselves, concepts for how team members could collaborate within the platform.
Having it visual must make the next step easier.
Absolutely. It makes abstract ideas much more concrete and easier to discuss and evaluate, which leads right into session 3.
Session 3, decide. Time to make some choices from all those sketches. How did they approach that?
They started with something called the Art Museum.
Like hanging the sketches on the wall.
Pretty much. All the solution sketches were put up anonymously. Then everyone walked around, like in a gallery, silently reviewing them.
And then voting.
Kinda. They used heat maps. Everyone got a bunch of small dot stickers, and they placed dots on the sketches, or parts of sketches, that they liked. No discussion yet, just intuitive reactions.
So you get a quick visual sense of where the energy is?
Exactly. You see which ideas are resonating. After that came the speed critique.
Okay, what's that?
The facilitator highlights the sketches that got a lot of dots, the hot spots. The creator briefly explains the core concept, and then the team quickly discusses it, what's good, what are the potential challenges, the main idea. It's fast-paced.
Quick feedback. Could AI have helped analyze those hotspot sketches?
Again, it's possible. You could imagine using AI tools, maybe after the critique, to analyze the common patterns or recurring UI elements in the highly rated ideas, or even flag potential usability issues based on design heuristics. It could add another layer of analysis.
Interesting possibility. So heat maps, speed critique,
Yeah.
then the final vote.
Yes. Based on the heat map and the critique discussions, they moved to a more structured voting process to make the final call. Select the core solution concepts and user flows they were actually going to build a prototype for.
Okay, decision made, now what? They created a storyboard.
Right. The storyboard is crucial. It takes the winning solution idea and maps out the user's journey through it, step by step.
Like a comic strip for the user experience.
That's a great analogy, usually about 6 to 8 key screen frames. It shows what the user sees on the screen, what they click on, what happens next. It visualizes the interaction flow very clearly.
Building a narrative for the prototype.
Exactly. And again, while it may be not used this time, GenAI could potentially help here too, perhaps by generating different layout options for the storyboard frames or suggesting alternative ways a user might interact based on the chosen concept.
So what key user experiences did they actually storyboard out? What scenarios?
They mapped out several important ones. There was the home screen, that central dashboard view with key info, alerts, customizable
The
widgets.
starting point.
Yep. That data management, how users could get data in, clean it up, maybe using automated checks. Also, data exploration analysis, making it intuitive for even non-experts to visualize and find patterns.
Making data accessible.
A big one was AI root cause analysis, how the AI would pinpoint causes of problems and present those findings visually to help decisions.
Getting to the why.
Then, action recommendation execution, the AI suggesting actions, maybe even automating workflows if approved. And finally, real-time monitoring reporting, tracking if the actions worked and generating reports.
That covers a lot of ground, from data input to action and results.
It does. They also included specific flowcharts for things like tracking manufacturing LOTs or batches, and an action tracker to see progress on fixing issues.
Sounds comprehensive. Was there a guiding philosophy behind the storyboarding?
Yeah, they really stressed UI consistency, making the workflows feel natural and intuitive. And a key goal was making it usable for both the hardcore data scientists and the engineers or managers out on the floor.
Bridging that gap.
And finding that balance, leveraging the AI for recommendations, but keeping the human user in control of the final decisions. That was important.
Okay, storyboard locked in. Now we finally get to session 4. Prototype. Building time. What was the philosophy here?
The key was the prototype mindset. This isn't about building the final polished product. It's about creating something just good enough to get meaningful feedback.
Fake it till you make it.
Sort of. Build something that looks real, feels interactive, but is really just a facade. It's built to learn from. And crucially, it's okay to throw it away if the feedback shows it's not right. Don't get attached.
So what did they actually build?
They created a high-fidelity digital prototype using design tools like Figma or Sketch, probably, based directly on those storyboards.
High fidelity means it looks quite realistic.
Yes, it would have the planned UI designs, colors, buttons, and crucially, simulated interactions between screens. You could click on things, and it would navigate as if it were a real application, at least for the core flows they defined.
And GenAI's role in prototyping.
Highly likely it played a role here. GenAI tools can be fantastic for rapidly generating UI components, suggesting different visual layouts based on the storyboards, maybe even coding basic screen transitions. It can really speed up turning those storyboards into something clickable.
So you end up with something users can actually interact with. What key features made it into this clickable prototype?
They focused on visually representing the core scenarios from the storyboard. So definitely the integrated dashboard, the AI root cause analysis screen showing the problem, the data, and the suggested solutions.
Seeing the AI recommendations in context.
Exactly. And also the action tracker, showing how users would manage and monitor the steps taken to resolve an issue.
So this interactive prototype was the main output of the whole sprint week.
Pretty much. It's the tangible thing they could then take and put in front of real users or stakeholders for testing and feedback. That's the ultimate goal of the sprint.
Okay, sprint done, prototype built. They then did a retrospective, looking back on the process.
Yes, a crucial step, reflecting on what worked well, what didn't, and what they should change next time.
What were the highlights? The keep points.
A big one mentioned specifically was the effective use of AI, including GenAI. They felt it genuinely boosted efficiency and helped them explore more possibilities throughout the different stages.
So the AI integration was a definite plus.
Seems so. They also highlighted the great teamwork and knowledge sharing between people from different backgrounds and how quickly they could generate and visualize ideas, which, again, GenAI likely helped with.
Sounds positive. What about the downsides? The stop points.
Time pressure was one. Some felt there wasn't quite enough time for really deep discussions or fully fleshing out every idea within the sessions.
The double-edged sword of a rapid sprint.
Right. Also, some occasional fuzziness in decision-making was mentioned, and a reflection that maybe they could have had an even wider range of perspectives involved, both in terms of participants and the initial ideas considered.
Okay, fair critiques. So what did they plan to try differently next time?
More prep work up front seemed key. Better sharing of goals, methods, and background info before the sprint starts.
Get everyone set up for success.
Also, maybe setting slightly smaller, more tightly focused goals for a single sprint, or being more realistic about the MVP scope, keeping development feasibility firmly in mind.
Right, sizing the ambition for the time frame.
And finally, actively seeking more diversity in participants, maybe bringing in people from other departments, more external experts, or even customers earlier in the process.
Good lessons learned for optimizing the process. Okay, let's zoom out. Overall, what were the big conclusions from this whole design sprint for the DXAI group? What did they really achieve, especially with that GenAI assist?
Well, fundamentally, it was a success. They nailed down the strategic direction for their platform, came up with user-focused solutions, and defined that crucial MVP scope.
All pretty quickly, thanks partly to GenAI.
Yes, the speed enabled by using GenAI for things like research, ideation, and maybe even prototyping was a key factor in getting that done efficiently. Beyond the what, it also clearly boosted the team's skills in creative thinking and working together.
And they got real user insights.
Absolutely. Identifying those potential user needs and pain points early on is incredibly valuable for guiding the actual development work. It prevents building the wrong thing.
Sounds like it built momentum and alignment, too.
Definitely. They achieved a strong consensus on tackling the data problems and ensuring the platform would actually work in their real-world scenarios. That's a solid foundation for the next phases, user testing, and then actual development.
And that careful balance between tech and user experience?
They felt they struck a good balance, aiming for something that's technically powerful, but also genuinely useful and usable, giving them a unique edge. The plan now is user testing the prototype, refining it based on feedback, then working with developers to build and launch that MVP.
And the GenAI experience itself was valuable.
Very much so. Actively using it across different stages, benchmarking, ideation, sketching, prototyping, gave the team practical, hands-on experience applying these tools to real work problems. It wasn't just theoretical.
Building internal capability.
Right. And the sprint's outcome provides a really clear shared starting point for everyone involved, different departments, stakeholders, making future collaborations smoother because everyone understands the goal. This whole process could even become a best practice for other projects in the company.
What are their hopes for the platform's impact once it's built?
They have high hopes. They see it potentially revolutionizing how they handle data processing and analysis using AI. But critically, by making it user-friendly, they lower the barrier to entry.
Democratizing data analysis.
In a way, yes. More people using data, faster decisions, leading to tangible business value. They particularly see big efficiency gains from automating some of the tedious data prep and analysis tasks.
And the impact beyond just this one platform, on the organization itself.
The collaborative sprint model, turbocharged by GenAI, really seemed to improve cross-team communication and understanding. It built bridges. That experience itself is an asset for future innovation efforts and helps shift the overall company culture.
Building a more innovative culture. What are the future-proofing of the platform? Scalability.
They seem to have thought about that too. Designing it with a modular structure, using APIs that makes it easier to add features later or connect it with other systems. It helps ensure it stays competitive and useful as the AI landscape continues to change so rapidly.
So it's built for growth.
That's the plan. Ultimately, this design sprint, significantly aided by GenAI, really acted as a spark plug for their bigger digital transformation journey. The DXAI platform, once live, is expected to embed that data-driven decision-making culture and boost their overall competitiveness.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the DXAI group ran a successful design sprint, leaning into GenAI quite effectively to chart the course for their DXAI platform. They defined the MVP, focusing squarely on solving those tough industrial data and quality problems.
Exactly. It really demonstrates how this kind of structured, intense process, especially when you cleverly integrate tools like generative AI, can accelerate everything: idea generation, collaboration, and getting to a user-centered solution much faster.
It's a powerful combination, a really fascinating look at how innovation can be structured and accelerated today. Which leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. How might a focused, collaborative design sprint, perhaps using some of these new AI tools, help tackle a challenge in your world, your organization?
Yeah, what big, maybe seemingly stuck problem could benefit from this kind of rapid, iterative, user-focused approach?
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for taking us through this deep dive today.
And my pleasure.